thing called the JDAI. And so through JDAI, a lot of these detention alternative programs exist. We have the same Google. Y'all can look it up and see I'm not capping. So those things are in place. They work. The thing is, to DMT's point in the chat, you'll never eradicate violence. You won't. But what we try to do is make incremental progress. If Chicago has 900 murders this year, the goal is to have 400 next year. It takes time. The problem is the money. White people, people who have a vested interest in the violence existing, control the money. And when they decide the money goes away, the program goes away. And then the level of violence heightens again. And we have to do the same thing again. So you need sustainable funding and you need self-propagating programs.
They don't see Robert F. Smith on TV all the time. They don't see other Black billionaires. They don't see other Black multimillionaires that got it creating apps, that got it having Amazon stores, that got it doing whatever practice that they have. They're not exposed to that in mass because, just be honest, at the end of the day, like Dr. Umar said, this is systemic. And there's an agenda behind this. There's media behind this. There's social media behind this. There's movies behind this that is, getting on these kids' minds, on their iPads, and the women too. The movies, the TV shows, it's pushing a particular narrative that is destroying the Black household, period. So we can't sit up here and blame men. We can't blame Black men. We can't blame all the women either. It is a systemic issue that is affecting the majority of people. And the individual is smart, but we all know when it comes to mass people, and you want to mass put something on TV, and you want to mass put something on the internet, people are going to be swayed. And if you don't know better, if you weren't raised differently, it's going to be really hard to think outside of that small ass box. That's all I got.
So how do we unplug from that, B. Madden? Like,
wait, hold on. Let me respond to a bunch of the bullshit that was said.
Hey, can y'all let Bracy go?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about. I believe that you should definitely build your household up and tend to your kids. But my only problem is this. So after I built my kids up, I got them reading at a higher level than everybody in the neighborhood. I'm sorry, my kids are not going to play with your degenerate kids. I'm taking my kids out of that situation and be around other children that's at their level. I'm not going to sacrifice my kids so your kids could get better. I'm sorry. I'm not going to have my house in the hood where I'm doing my lawn. I got my siding up to par and yours looking raggedy, across the street looking raggedy. And then guess where they're going to come in when they hungry? They're going to come knocking on my door? No, that is not happening. I'm not sacrificing my kids to better the whole neighborhood. No, I'm going to take my kids to a better neighborhood. That's how that works. And the reason why they look to the celebrities, these rappers and basketball players, because they represent what they look like. They don't think they look like me, the construction owner. That's the problem. They don't want to see me coming home with dirty clothes. That's not the representation they want. They want to look fly. The new rappers is the modern day version of what I used to look to the dope dealer. So that's why they look up to them. It ain't this grandiose thing of that thing that B$50 say. It sounds great, that kumbaya thing, but that is not going to change the neighborhood. It's absolutely not. Keep your kids away from my children.
Bruh.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right, so y'all said a whole lot of bullshit. Let me be clear about that, right? So what I'm understanding, bro, y'all ain't never walked around with a 16th of dope in your mouth. You ain't never had an 8-ball between your ass cheeks.
Nope.
You ain't never cooked up a 62, bagged it up, went on the streets and took penitentiary chances. Niggas won't listen to you because you ain't never done none of that. I'm not saying you should have done that, but I understand why y'all have the opinions y'all have. Y'all ain't never been on none of these front lines. You ain't never been in danger. Your kids ain't in danger. I get that. That's cool for y'all. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to the niggas who they will listen to. From a nigga who's done this, right? On both sides, right? Everybody listens to somebody. I don't care how violent you are. I don't care what type of illegal shit you do. Everybody listens to somebody. Your goal, if you're not a pussy, your goal, me as a community organizer, is to find the people that they listen to, get those people to push them in the right direction, or to become the person or people that they listen to. You don't have to do it. I'm not telling y'all to do it. Y'all don't want to do it. Really don't give a shit, right? But to what Shan was saying, Shan, you were talking about leverage. You were talking about employees who have to do a certain thing because they get a check. So in New Jersey, I ran programs called detention alternative programs. Anything I'm saying, y'all can look it up. Middlesex County, New Jersey, youth advocate programs, detention alternative programs, right? And so there are shitloads of them. What happens when a kid comes in contact with the juvenile justice system, they get put on probation. If they're coming home from jail, they'll be on probation or parole too. So what will happen is they'll have to be in a mentoring program, and they have to be in that program a certain amount of hours for a certain amount of time in order to get off of probation. So what happens when they get in these situations, you now have the leverage you need to push them in the right direction. So what you're saying, I understand why you're saying it, but I'm saying those things exist. And there's a thing called the JDAI. And so through JDAI, a lot of these detention alternative programs exist. We have the same Google. Y'all can look it up and see I'm not capping. So those things are in place. They work. The thing is, to DMT's point in the chat, you'll never eradicate violence. You won't. But what we try to do is make incremental progress. If Chicago has 900 murders this year, the goal is to have 400 next year. It takes time. The problem is the money. White people who have a vested interest in the violence existing, control the money. And when they decide the money goes away, the program goes away. And then the level of violence heightens again. And we have to do the same thing again. So you need sustainable funding and you need self-propagating programs. But these things do work. Y'all don't see that they work because there's no way for you to see it or measure it if you're not involved in it. And to the point about building your own household, you can do that all you want. But when your kids come outside, either they're gonna be food or they're gonna be considered. JR would know this. I'm from Morgan Park. We were always at war with Ada Park. My neighborhood was, which is where Silk is from, King Von's dad. People in the chat don't know. Y'all might not know who that is. Whether I was with the jungle or not, I was with them. Whether I was GD or not, I was with them. And they're going to treat me just like them. It doesn't matter. So what I'm saying is I could have been in the perfect household, but just because I'm walking to school with my household friends, I'm going to be shot at just like them. So y'all can have this imaginary thing in your head.
That's not true, bro.
That's not true. It is true.
My parent purposely moved me out that very neighborhood. I didn't have to experience that because my parents got their ass up and moved me out the neighborhood. So no, I was not getting shot at like the rest of my
move you out the neighborhood, right?
My parents were regular people. My parents worked regular jobs.
And so JR, okay,
my mama was a secretary. My pops drove trucks.
Okay, cool. So you had two parents, right? So we moved from 60th and Vernon. JR would know what this is. That's down the street from O Block, which is what they were talking about in the chat. So I went to Dulles first, which is right next to O Block. That's my first school for anybody in the chat. So I'm from that area. Then we moved to the Hundreds because my grandma bought a house for $40-some thousand. You know what I'm saying? And so we got out there and it was fucked up too. You feel me? And so what I'm trying to say is everybody can't do what your parents did. Shout out to your parents. Shout out to your parents. But we was on public aid, bro.
My parents were on public aid.
We had a can of pork, the silver can of pork with a pig on it that said pork.
My parents were on public aid, food stamps, all that.
Everybody can't do that. That's your situation. So the other thing, Shan, you talked about the Kappa League and people not signing up. They're not signing up because those are not the type of niggas that are embedded into the community. And this is not just for the Kappas. This is for my fraternity too. My criticism of my fraternity is we're not on the front line of anything. We're not leading in any of this shit. We just tag ourselves on the back end of things. Pause. So we're not doing anything that makes it puts a dent in any of this. So that's why they're not signing up. Also, Lou said that a lot of these issues were systemic, and they are. Somebody else mentioned it. Maybe B. Madden said something about being systemic. Things are systemic. The problem is, what I hear from a bunch of y'all is that you want the system to exist because you niggas didn't talk about solutions. All you talked about was the problem. You highlighted the problems. You push blame on the men or the women or whatever you did, but you never said a solution. So the system exists because of niggas like y'all that say, oh, well, it's just systemic. Okay, nigga, but what's the solution?
The solution is to let y'all fail.
Okay, well, let them fail. But that's not, those of us who want to help, we gonna do this shit.
Swing, how does that help?
I will say this. I will say this though. I will say this though. Sean, I will say this. I agree with you on one aspect because you said people like me, I didn't live that life. I never had to walk around with crack in my jaws. I never had to do any of that stuff, right? You are absolutely right. You want to know who were doing that shit? All the Pookies and Ray Rays. The same motherfuckers that was walking around with crack in their jaws were also the same motherfuckers making babies out of wedlock. They were all the same. So when you said, hey, they do need to come back to the community and do right by the community, you are absolutely right. I am 100% agreement with you. Take your ass. If you was one of them Negroes that was doing wrong in the community, get your ass back over there and fix it. But don't sit here and look at the 80% of good men that have been doing the shit right. We did it right. We got our kids in good school. We moved our kids and did right by our kids. Don't look at us and then tell us you need to come back to the community and do something for the kids because we didn't fuck y'all up. Y'all fucked y'all up.
It sounds like there needs to be a mandatory parenting program for 9 months, prior to this child showing up into the world. Because what it seems to me is that a lot of people are really winging it. These people who are parents, whether they're single, whether they're in a relationship,
bro, that's scary.
They're really shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
So you're saying they should have a license?
Yes, I said this.
You gotta have a license to have a kid.
I swear to God, I said this to one of my boys. On a car ride to the casino. This was about maybe 8 years ago. I remember this, and I was like, because we were talking about a specific situation. I was like, I feel like people who want to have kids should have like licenses and all to have kids because they be raising stupid kids. They can barely afford kids, but they can't certainly afford stupid kids, right? Because they're certainly not passing down the right information that they need in order to put these kids in a better situation. Reading to them, making sure that they're well nutrition, they have the right nutrition, right? That they're, avoiding certain programming that is detrimental to their learning, right? Staying away from other people, keeping them busy, putting them in school activities, right? And there's something that Shannon said that really hurt me, man, when he made that comment. I was like, because I do a program in the city, and it's nothing but girls that show up. It's like 90% girls show up, and there's like no boys. And one day I had asked one of the parents, I was like, I'm curious, do you have any sons and stuff like that? Oh, I can't get that kid to come. You know what I'm saying? Like I tried to drag him in the car and stuff like that. So when he made that comment, I really felt that impact because I honestly had that conversation, and it really slipped my mind to not even bring that up. You know what I'm saying? That does happen.
That's because boys want to be outside. Like if we ain't running, hitting somebody or somebody's hitting us, we do not want to be involved. We do not want to leave our household, go to a program where we in another so-called household. That is not what young men want to do. And also with this whole license to carry a kid thing, that is insane because
license to carry a kid.
Because that takes up the nuance of human beings. You know what I'm saying? Because just because I come like the young men that come up from, the whole rose from a concrete, that is what makes them a celebrity and a star because they had such humble beginnings and they became this big, grandiose human being. So if everybody that is already established just have children, it's going to be one blanket type of human being.
And did it in China.
You know what happens is
right.
In
America sells ideas, and most of the ideas.
A lot of people are raising weapons of mass destruction in their community. All those shooting,
but you understand that that's the part of the
process.
The system. Yeah. That's the part of the process.
Hey.
So that's what it is. So it makes sense. And why would they want to regulate who has the kids? Because they already know that there's going to be individuals, Pookies and Ray Rays, as we keep calling them, are going to create an environment that's not suitable for productivity. I mean, even people, if we're talking about work from within, I mean, there's dudes on the panel that don't even believe in getting married. You know what I'm saying? So
what?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if you're saying that that's a part of building a community, then you would be considered part of the problem. If you're not talking about trying to do a program and you're not talking about being married to be able to foster the best possible outcome for your kid, then you are a part of the problem. You don't even need to be sitting up here.